Hello everyone, welcome back to Nails Before Films. For the second movie of my year-end review, I'll be talking about WB's biggest hit this year, Barbie. Now, this movie is a bit complicated in my opinion. I don't think it's as terrible as people like Ben Shapiro make it out to be, but at the same time, it's not a great film as a lot of people claim it to be either. Woke or not, I just think it's not very interesting. It's not nearly as bad as The Flash, which genuinely made me hate myself after watching it, but I don't really feel anything after watching Barbie. After it finished, I was like, okay, I just watched a movie. Yeah, it's a movie, alright. So no, I don't particularly like Barbie, but I don't hate it either. Let me get into why. First, let's go into the best part of this movie, Ken. Ken is absolutely hilarious and likable. Ryan Gosling played him perfectly. I don't find the movie particularly funny, except for the parts with Ryan Gosling. It's just so comedic that in a movie called Barbie, I care more about Ken. Seriously, about halfway through the movie, Ken disappeared for a while and it was just Barbie and the mom and the daughter who own her. And I was like, where's Ken? Get back to Ken. This is boring. I want to know more about Ken and his patriarchy. Ryan Gosling really nailed every single scene he's in, even basic jokes that are making fun of patriarchy, like Ken going into offices in the hospital, expecting to get a job because he's a man. I laughed at that. It's stupid, but the way Ryan Gosling did it was so funny. Also, the Mojo Dojo Casa House joke is dumb too. I normally wouldn't find things like that funny, but because of how cool Ryan Gosling said it, I actually said it along with the mom and daughter when I was watching. And when Barbie told them to not say it, I was like, but it sounds kind of cool though. If you tell me someone calls a house Mojo Dojo Casa House before I see the movie, I would probably say that's one of the stupidest things I've ever heard. Yet I unironically think it's pretty cool after hearing Ryan Gosling say it. I must seem like such a Ryan Gosling fangirl, but this is actually the second time I've watched his movie. The first one is La La Land, and I thought that movie was mid, so I didn't quite believe it when people were saying how great of an actor Ryan Gosling was before Barbie came out. But now that I've actually seen it, I completely agree. He basically turned the Barbie movie into the Ken movie. Most people, including myself, rooted for him instead of Barbie. We feel bad for him from being mistreated by the girl he loves. We cheer for him when he gets respected in real life. We understand why he wants to bring patriarchy to Barbie Land. And I Am Enough is a great message that everyone can take home, both men and women. Anyway, Ken is really what I enjoy the most in this movie. Without him, I'd probably think the movie sucks. Next, let's talk about Barbie. I wouldn't say she's the villain of this movie, but her story is just so thin compared to Ken's. The most important thing that happens to her is that she decides to become a human near the end of the movie. But for me, that came out of nowhere. At no point in this movie did she make me feel like she wanted to stay in the real world. She even seemed to despise the real world. So why would she want to become human? I think they probably didn't know what to do with her, so they were like, okay, the movie is ending. We need to do something with Barbie fast. So let's make her human and call it a day. It feels so sudden and doesn't make me emotional at all. I feel like it would be better for Barbie's story to be about accepting imperfection. It makes so much more sense than her going into the real world and do stuff, I guess. You might argue that by becoming human, it means she's okay with being imperfect. But that's not the reason why she wants to be human. This is what she said in the movie, and I quote, "I want to be part of the people that make meaning, not thing that's made." So her motive is she wants to be a creator, not a creation. But she never gave me that feeling throughout the movie. The ending is supposed to be touching and beautiful, but Barbie finally finds her purpose and wants to do more than just partying every day. But all I can think of is, where did this come from? Her story is just so unfocused. It begins with her being imperfect, so she explores the real world to become perfect again. But then it turns into her fighting the patriarchy, and she's supposed to become a leader, I guess. But she doesn't really do that either. She's not the one who snaps the Barbies out of their brainwashing, and Weird Barbie does more work than her. In the end, she suddenly wants to be a human. It's just all over the place. However, I think it's nice that she recognizes that she's been mistreating Ken at the end and apologizes to him. That character development makes a lot of sense, and I like how she encourages Ken to find value in himself, not from her. Then again, this involves Ken, so even the thing I like about Barbie is about Ken, which is hilarious that this is supposed to be the Barbie movie. Anyway, let's talk about the human characters, namely the mom and daughter who own Barbie. I don't like them. I don't even remember their name. The daughter is your typical bitchy, woke teenager who thinks she knows everything, and the mom is just a mom. I do feel kind of bad for her because she's sad that her daughter is drifting away from her, but she becomes annoying too when she starts ranting about how difficult it is to be a woman. I'll get into that later. The part where they're the focus really dragged the movie. I watched this movie with my mom, and around the part where they rescue Barbie from Mattel's headquarters, my mom was like, "This is getting boring. Is the movie ending soon?" I thought there were probably 30 to 40 minutes left, but no, we were only halfway. There was an hour left. So yeah, they really sucked the fun out of the movie, and for a movie that's supposed to be female empowerment, it's weird that the men are fun and the women are boring. Now, let's talk about whether or not this movie is woke or anti-woke. There are definitely woke moments like Barbie and Ken going to the real world and all the men they meet are sexist pigs who look at Barbie like an object, even the police. It's just unfunny and insulting. However, most other things can be woke or anti-woke depending on whether or not they did it sarcastically. For example, a matriarchy like Barbie Land seems like a utopia for extreme feminists, but it's not perfect. The Kens are treated like accessories to Barbies and generally ignored. So are they saying that women can be sexist towards men as well? Also, they talk about the patriarchy like the boogeyman in this movie is the root of all evil. However, after Ken brings patriarchy to Barbie Land, he doesn't ignore the Barbies like the way they treated him. Instead, everyone seems happy. The Kens finally have some self-respect, and they still care about the Barbies. They didn't force the Barbies to do as they say. The Barbies went along with them. So, are they saying women are weak-minded and easily affected? If they really want to show how bad patriarchy is, then they should make the Kens slap the Barbies around against their will. The way they showed the Ken's patriarchy doesn't make it seem like a bad thing. Barbie, on the other hand, looks like the asshole for ruining everyone's fun. And their way of defeating the Kens is by emotionally manipulating them, which sort of makes women look bad. The Kens are singing them songs and sharing things with them, yet the Barbies just ignore them and make them jealous by being with other Kens. How are the Kens the bad guys? Next, the big rant from the mom. If they meant the rant unironically, then it's shallow and typical. Everything she said could be applied to men as well. Let's go through some of them. First, you have to be thin, but not too thin. You can never say you want to be thin. You have to say you want to be healthy, but also you have to be thin. I think that applies to men as well. Change thing to buff and we'll get you have to be buff, but not too buff. But you can never say you want to be buff. You have to say you want to be healthy, but also you have to be buff. On one hand, I've heard women criticize men for not working out, saying it's disgusting. And on the other, there are women saying they find too much muscle to be upsetting. But you don't hear men complaining about how difficult it is to be a man. And if a man tells me, I just want to look jacked, I don't care about being healthy, and he doesn't have a healthy lifestyle, I'd be like, that's not very good, man. You should want to be healthy. Next, you have to have money, but you can't ask for money because that's crass. That also applies to everyone. We should all work towards financial stability. Men asking for money would be crass too. And you have to be a boss, but you can't be mean. You have to lead, but you can't squash other people's ideas. That also applies to everyone. No one likes a mean boss who can't accept other people's ideas. Moving on, you're supposed to love being a mother, but don't talk about your kids all the damn time. That applies to fathers as well. It's best when parents love being parents, but talking about your kids all the time is annoying for both mothers and fathers. You have to be a career woman, but also always be looking out for other people. There are so many cautionary tales about men only focusing on their careers and they ended up alone with their kids and wives, ignoring them. So men have to care about other people too. It's generally not a good idea to only focus on your career and push everyone away. Next, you have to answer for man's bad behavior. Lady, have you been on Twitter? So many women blame men when it's not their fault. So this isn't a woman problem either. Things like you have to be grateful, not rude, never be selfish, never show fear, these all apply to men too. No one likes ungrateful, selfish bastards. And men are often ridiculed when they show fear. I don't want this video to get too long, so I won't go through every single thing in that rant. However, if they meant it ironically, then it's pretty genius. I mean, complaining to other women is such a woman thing to do, and it shows how silly some women are for believing that everything is against them when it's just difficult to be human in general. Lastly, let's talk about Mattel. First of all, not all of their board of directors are white men. That is just silly. At first, I thought it was kind of nice Mattel isn't the villain of the story, and they actually care about little girls. When Mojo Dojo Casa houses were selling like crazy, they didn't ditch Barbies and switch to Kens. However, I soon remember that this is essentially a 2-hour-long commercial for Mattel, so of course they can't make them look too bad. They have to pretend that they actually care about children, not just their parents' money. So overall, I didn't particularly enjoy the Barbie movie. While the parts with Ken are fun, it only takes up about 1/3 of the movie, give or take. It's generally not very interesting. I think it's more entertaining to watch people fight over whether or not it's woke. You have people slamming it for being anti-men, people who think it's satire, and people saying other people are watching it wrong. There is no wrong way to watch a movie, and I like the ambiguity. If they intended that, then the director is a genius. Even if she didn't, it's smart of them to leave it up for interpretation instead of saying men are watching it wrong. Anyway, that's my review of Barbie. It definitely has Kenergy, and it's fun to see how people take away different things from it. That's what movies should do. They mean different things to different people. However, it's just not very funny and entertaining in my opinion. I didn't watch it in the theater, and I'm glad I didn't. Hope you guys like my review and my Barbie and Ken nail. As always, like, subscribe, comment, share, do what you want, keep nailing it, and remember, you are Ken enough, people.